You might have heard about Open Gate Video before, but you may not know too much about it. Well, this video is going to go through what it is, where to find it, and how to use it. First, let's talk about what Open Gate Video actually is. Right now, you're watching this in a traditional landscape format of 16:9. This is the most common landscape video format, and it's the aspect ratio of most TVs and computer monitors. If you're watching a YouTube video, most likely it's in 16:9. It's so common, in fact, that most cameras will by default record video in a 16:9 format. But here's the thing, your camera's sensor is not actually 16:9. It's more than likely in a 3:2 aspect ratio if it's a full frame camera, like the LUMIX S series of cameras. Now that's a lot of numbers, so let's make it a little bit clearer by looking at the sensor itself. This is the sensor of a LUMIX S5 Mark IIX, and this is a 16:9 frame. You can see that this frame sits comfortably inside the sensor, and if you record normal video, this is the aspect ratio that you'll be recording in. But what about all of that space above and below this 16:9 frame? Is that also a useful part of the sensor? Well, it sure is. In fact, when you take a photo, your camera will use the entire sensor to take a photo, not just the 16:9 frame. So why can't you do that with video too? Well, with LUMIX you can. You can choose to record video using the entire sensor instead of just the 16:9 frame in the middle, and that's what Open Gate Video is referring to. Full sensor recording instead of the constrained 16:9 frame. This will mean you get a more square shaped frame and importantly more image to play with in the edit, taking you from something that looks like this to something that looks like this. A good thing to note here is that a Micro Four Thirds camera like the LUMIX GH7 for example, has a sensor in a 4:3 aspect ratio, which makes Open Gate recording even more powerful because it gives you even more image above and below that standard 16:9 frame. This is the Micro Four Thirds sensor of the GH7. And this is the standard 16:9 frame inside it. Notice how much extra room there is above and below this frame. If we record in Open Gate using a 4:3 aspect ratio, we're now getting a much squarer image, giving you a lot more to work with in the edit. Okay, so why is this so good? Well, there are a few applications where this becomes super useful, but by far the most common has everything to do with the rise in popularity of the vertical video format. Social media has made the vertical video a necessity in a lot of videographers' workflows, but the camera sensor is still in landscape. Interestingly, the aspect ratio of vertical video is 9:16, which is an exact vertical version of the landscape video we were talking about earlier. So if you simply grab your camera and flip it by 90 degrees up onto its side, you'll get a perfect 9:16 frame in standard recording. But apart from this being a bit of an awkward way to physically hold a camera for video recording, and the countless obstacles it produces if you wanted to do any kind of video rig, recording video in this way means it will always be vertical. And if you ever wanted to cut a landscape version for YouTube, you're going to be in a world of editing pain. This is where Open Gate comes in so useful. The squarer frame of Open Gate recording means you can easily get a vertical cut out of your horizontal video. Recording in this way means you can easily edit for both vertical and landscape platforms like Instagram and YouTube from just one take. This makes your life as a videographer super easy, both on set when recording and in the edit suite. There is one more thing that will take this to the next level of usability for you though, and that is frame markers. When you're recording in such a wide open frame for multiple aspect ratios, it can be tricky to know exactly what you're capturing in each frame. Frame markers really help with this by allowing you to see easily in real time exactly what you're capturing within each aspect ratio. Just go into the frame markers menu, which can be found in the monitor display section under the cog icon. Here you can choose up to 3 frame markers to have on your camera's monitor in any dimension or color you like. You can see here that there are a range of set dimensions to choose from, or you can even create your own by selecting the custom option. The frames will be centered by default, but you can move them to any position within the screen. You can also apply a frame mask, which will dim everything outside of the frame by an amount that you choose. Okay, now you're absolutely sold on Open Gate recording and you're wondering how you can enable it. Well, although you won't find any setting called Open Gate recording, you can enable this feature by going into the Rec Quality menu under the Image Format section in the Movie Camera icon. Here you'll see a selection of different recording quality formats with their corresponding dimensions. Next to those dimensions is the aspect ratio in brackets. Look out for the ones that show either 3:2 if you're on a full frame camera or 4:3 if you're on a micro four thirds camera. Selecting one of these formats will put your camera into the corresponding aspect ratio, and you should see a much squarer video frame. This will be especially noticeable if you enable a 16:9 frame marker. Now you're ready to record in Open Gate and make shooting for multiple aspect ratios super easy. I hope this video has answered any questions you might have had, but if it hasn't, don't be afraid to jump on our Instagram and message us at LUMIX_AU. Oh, and don't forget to tag us in the incredible shots you share. I really can't wait to see what you create.